a while ago, way back in the far off times of when I was at the beginning of seminary. I had a landlord who said, yeah, sure, you can have a pet or have a cat. They have to be declawed. I was like, well, I'm not going to declaw a cat, but I will go find one that already has been declawed. So I go off to the animal shelter and I see this. So I just tell the person there, I'm like, I need a cat that's been declawed. And there's plenty, so that won't be a problem. And there's this big gray cat whose name is Grace. And I get the cat and I hold the cat. And the cat's kind of like, oh, yeah. And I take Grace off to they have like a little room where you can hang out with them and play and sort of see if you have a compatible personality. It's like speed dating kind of. And so Grace and I went to the little room and Grace just plopped down on my lap and said, you're mine. I was like, okay, great, awesome, let's do this. So somewhere in there, one of the attendants was like, oh, because we just assumed that Grace, being the name of the cat, meant that Grace was a she. But the attendant says, well, it says here that Grace is a boy. I said, well, Grace comes in many forms. And so I don't know if there's anybody else who's ever had a boy cat named Grace, but I kept the name. I thought it was a great name. And he was named that because they found him behind a church on the day after Christmas. And, he was a perfect cat. He knew who his person was. He would sit on your lap if my lap was not available. But if my lap was available, sorry, you're out of luck. But he was that presence of love and calm and joy in the midst of the busy and craziness that is seminary. And when Mary Ellen came to live with me, he, sometimes would sleep with her. And and he was our cat, and he was great. And then we had the opportunity to move on campus, on the Unity Village campus, which would save us about $300 a month. It's significant. Probably more than that. Probably more like 5 or 6. Yeah. Anyway, we were going to save a lot of money by moving on campus. Problem was we couldn't bring our cat. So obviously I was like, okay, well, I guess we can't do it, even though we have this great opportunity to move on campus. And then Grace, just like his name, got sick and passed away within a week. And allowed us to move on campus, which saved us a lot of money and was a wonderful opportunity. Of course, it was very sad. But I was like, wow, Grace. He just came in and came out, just like that. Came when he needed, left when he needed. It's weird. Like an angel or something. I don't know. And now I know many of you, I'm sure, have your pet stories, because some of you have told me your pet stories. The ones who made you laugh, the ones that you cried over when they passed. Oh, we cried a lot when Grace passed. And I've had many great pets. I've had many great pets, and have known some really great pets because I spent a lot of time as a pet sitter, so I have known many great pets. But why do we take a Sunday to talk about animals? Anybody know? Anybody know? Well, it started with the Catholics, as many things do, and a man who became known as St. Francis of Assisi. You've heard of him, right? He's the patron saint of a few things, but animals is one of them. And that happened because they told a story about him. He would preach the story of God's love to whoever showed up, and so he gave a sermon to a whole flock of birds who sat there and listened to him until he told them they could go, and they flew off. That's the story. He also convinced a wolf to stop terrorizing a town. That's the story. So that's how he became the patron saint of animals, and he wasn't always. He started off as a rich sort of playboy, do whatever I want kind of son of a merchant, and then he had a vision from God to rebuild the church. And since his death was on October 4th, 1226, his feast day is the 4th. So often, many churches have a pet blessing or an animal blessing on the first week of October because that's when the feast day is. So there you go. I'm going to see the Pope on the feast day of St. Francis, which I think is pretty awesome. Anyway, so there's a lot we can learn from the animals around us. So this is not my cat buster, but this is a picture almost exactly like my cat buster. What I can learn from him is he didn't allow anyone near him when he was in his special box, a box just like that. And so from that, we are reminded to stand up for what we need. And from a friend's dog, Cody, who would play catch, this ginormous German Shepherd, he would play catch endlessly. He was obsessed with catch, with his ball. We can learn the simple joy of knowing what your passion is and following it doggedly. Where did they get that word from? And from our municipal moose, I don't know if you can see, that's my neighbor's truck and our neighborhood moose, Fred. But from our municipal moose, we learn about taking our time and going where our heart leads, even if others wish we wouldn't. Follow your heart. Take your time. Who cares if you're holding up traffic? Do what you need to do, right? That's what we learn from our local moose. And from raccoons, we might learn to seize opportunities. Us humans might not agree with some of those opportunities, but they're all about seizing opportunities, right? And from salmon, we learn the value of persistence. I don't know about you, but jumping up all those waterfalls and things they jump up is pretty impressive, I think. I don't know if I would be up for it. And from cats, we learn to take some time to relax in the sunshine. And from dogs, we learn unconditional love. And there's a lot of other things we can learn from the furry and feathered and scaly ones, and we know. So you probably thought of something. So I'm going to invite you to take a moment and think about a particular critter who's blessed your life, or a group of critters, and something you learned from them. And in 1 minute or less, share with someone near you, and then take turns and let the other person share. Ready, set, go. Or not. Okay. So I want to tell you about beavers. Beavers are really neat. If you look up what they do, it's really amazing. They have really far-reaching effects of their actions, and that's something I think we can remember too, that we're not like living in our own little bubble here. The beaver is an amazing animal. Not only does it build a dam and then build a little home where it has a water entry, and the resulting ponds, they're creators of habitat, not just for themselves. When they cut down larger trees and create wetlands, they clear the scene for willows and aspens and water lilies and all sorts of other things to come up. And these plants and new plants and wetlands and things attract a variety of animals, from dragonflies to moose. They also create natural reservoirs, which help us with what we humans call water management. I saw this whole video when I was looking this up about how if they just had more beavers in this water system that was in Utah, that with more beavers, they would be able to not have to put in any human-made dams, which are really disruptive to the environment. And the beavers would be able to keep the water flow easy all year round and do it in a much more cheaper and ecologically conscious way. Beavers, who knew? How cool is that? There's a lot. And what I love about that is not only do they have all this, they've evolved into having these wonderful benefits in many different ways, but they remind us once again that we can affect a lot of, these beavers come into Yellowstone and all of a sudden there's a whole shift in the ecology and what's there. We can make a difference, right? So that helps us remember that we each serve a purpose and that we do better when we stay connected with nature. So today we're going to bless the animals. And there's a couple things for us to take beyond today. And one of those is to see with new eyes. What do the creatures in your life have to teach you? How can we take one step of being a better co-inhabitant of the planet with them? And, a blessing means, once again, if you ask the Catholics what the blessing means, and it means to impart the power of life, which I like that. That's a nice definition. Impart the power of life. Or I would say to affirm the life. And so as we celebrate each animal, and not only do we bless the animals that are part of our lives that we bring here, but we bless all the animals. And we join in that kind of worldwide family of faith traditions that are blessing animals this week. And we celebrate each of these animals and we know that they are filled with the energy of God or Spirit, whatever word you want to use. So we affirm that life. That's good stuff. And then third, the other thing that we remember during our animal blessing is that we are animals too. We just think we're smarter than them, but it's not necessarily true. And so as fellow creatures walking the planet, we feel that energy of Spirit springing forth within us as well. We know that it's alive, and we affirm that it is alive in us. And we go forth with zeal, just like Cody chasing after that ball until he couldn't see it anymore. And so that's what we do today. We bless the animals. We bless and know that we are part of that big circle of life. And feel gratitude for that, knowing that we are all God's creatures.